Good morning, everybody. I'm Chris Rauch. I'm the EVP of Customer Success for Sage. If I can take you back 4 years. So 4 years to within about a day, I joined a fairly small startup, left Salesforce, where I was for 7 years, and joined a small startup called Fairsail that had about 19 people, about 50 customers, and with the remit of go sort out customers, what we're going to call customers for life. Go sort that out. And at the time, I had a team of, I had one support guy who was feeling a bit lonely, 3 or 4 implementers, a US team that was one grumpy Yorkshireman who happened to be in America, and one partner, and about 50 very unhappy customers who were waiting for someone to shout at. So I then took on that role, and what I'm going to share with you is the story of how we built a business over the last 4 years that eventually was acquired by Sage, and we took it from those 19 people, about 50 customers, to about 250 to 300 customers, about 200 people overall in the company, and the business was sold for about 10x its value 4 years ago. So this is a story of the customer success bit that was a key part of that. So very quickly, who is Fairsail, which has now become Sage People? Essentially, it's an HR solution based on the Salesforce platform, entirely native, that was founded by a guy that came out of Citibank 10 years ago who said, I want to build a cloud-based HR solution. Focused on mid-sized multinationals. We have customers in end users in 145 countries. We have 4 customers, end users in Papua New Guinea, of all things. We have headquartered out of 21 companies, and companies between about 100 to 200 people to about 7,000. So a reasonable customer base spread quite geographically, and we needed to get on top of that. So what we did was, when I came in, is I said, well, let's set some principles for what we called customers for life. For anybody in the UK here who ever remembers the Ron Seal advert, it is what it says on the tin. So if we did our job properly, you would be a customer for life. And this slide, we use this slide for every single prospect. So no deal is signed with Sage People without the customer seeing this slide and the next one. So we tell the customer, as part of the sales process, we've got this product thing, but we've got this customers for life thing. And this is really important, and this is the standards we hold ourselves to. So there have been various comments about how do you make customer success pervasive. You get in on the sales process and actually use it as a differentiator. So let me talk you through it. The first thing, we know and care about every customer. So most companies have a list of accounts and companies, but it's the people that matter. They're the people we're serving. So we relentlessly keep our contact data up to date. Connecting with LinkedIn, all the key stakeholders, so when they move, you know they've moved. And making sure we've got the right dashboards and the right tracking to know who those customers are and their contact details. The next thing is we care. Okay, what does that mean? So have you ever asked someone to emotionally assess an email? We ask our support people, when they read an email, to emotionally assess it. What is going on for this person? What is the subject line? Who's copied in? What's the tone? If they just tell you they've spent 3 hours trying to fix a problem and they're getting really frustrated, sending them to the manual is not going to help. You are not going to help their emotional state. So how about, what could I do if I was that person to be in a better mood? Maybe I'm just going to call them. Because actually what they need is just a shoulder to cry on because they have had enough. And thinking about that emotional state, and also, importantly, and I'll come back to this on measures, don't measure time to close. Do not measure time to close. Measure first response and how they feel at the end, period. Is there any support leaders in the business who want to measure time to close? No, don't do it. The next one is listen, respond quickly. Now, there's 2 things I'd pick out there. There's the quickly. When someone contacts you, they contact you not because they want a response tomorrow, next week. They contact you because they want something now. So get back to them and tell them, either deal with the problem now or tell them when you're going to. So connect with them. And then when you connect with them, listen. Too often, people solve the wrong problem. Make sure you understand the problem you're solving. And really take the time to listen. If I look back at the 4 years, we lost a customer, one of the first big customers we lost. We haven't lost that many, with renewal rates over the 4 years averaging about 99%. We lost one customer because we did not listen. They asked the product to do something. We said it doesn't do that, and it shouldn't do that. It's not strategically important. We didn't ask why it mattered. And when they handed in their notice, said, you didn't listen to us. And the reason it mattered is because we are firing people because of that piece of functionality that's missing. And it really matters to us. And we failed to listen and we lost them. Painful lesson. The next one, engage with exec sponsor. Now, this is stating the obvious. You know, of course you get to the person paying the bill. But what's more important is quite a lot of our business is delivered through partners. We triangulate to the exec sponsor of a customer that might be delivered by a partner. How's it going? We also triangulate against the project manager that tells you, oh, it's all fine. Everything's going fine. We're on plan. But the CFO is going, really? This is not the plan I signed up to. And he's the one that signs off your renewal invoice. He's that one, if you're still implementing 9 months in, and then he gets a note about the renewal, he's the one that's not going to sign it and kick off. You have to triangulate. The fourth one along there about enablement. Now, I don't know how many people here work with partners, but we had a philosophy that all partner training is free. Period. Partners are part of the family. If you look up partner in a dictionary, it's a two-way thing. It is not a supplier. You get a large stick and hit really hard, ask them for money, ask them to pay for lots of things and give them nothing back. No, it's a two-way thing. You have to enable them, treat them like family. You also, particularly in HR, most people who've got a technology focus don't typically go to HR for a career. So then we rock up and go, hoo-hoo, we got system here, check this system out, and they're going, no, please, this is horrible, this is difficult. So you have to enable your customers, because an enabled customer, we all know, raises less support cases, is happier, uses more of it, adopts. So enablement is key, and I'll talk more about that in a second. And then the fifth thing along there is about measuring and tracking customer success. And I would say, yes, of course, renewal rate, NPS, I'm kind of with Chris previous who said NPS. NPS is a broad indicator, it's not a specific indicator, because most NPS responses, 10%, maybe 15%? So what, you know about how happy 15% of your customer base is? What is more important is what are the customers saying to you on a regular basis? So we have a customer success plan, which I'll talk about in a second, which has an update on the status of every customer during implementation every week, post-implementation about every month, about how are they, red, yellow, green, with a one-line comment and a date, and who did it. And, importantly, we give access to our partners, so our partners update it. So something goes off the tracks, because stuff goes off tracks, I call up the customer success plan, I can see every update for the last 3 months from the partner, and then go, okay, let's talk about what's been going on here, not going, oh my God, what's been going on with this project. So an escalation can get dealt with. And then that customer success plan. So customer success plan is not a PowerPoint. It's not like a sales territory plan that they produce at the beginning of the year and then file it. This is a thing. It's in our Salesforce org, so we use Salesforce relentlessly. And we have in there an object which has everything about the customer and a whole load of information, whether it be their status, coming back to that contact data, who the key people are, what their role is, what their usage is, all the engagements, all the conversations, so everything about that customer. It's a real living thing that everybody, partners, updates. So when I was at Fairsail, our CEO would go and visit a customer, he would not ask for a brief. He would call up the app, he would go, here's what's going on, brilliant, walk in there. And then guess what? He would update it with the results of his conversation with the CEO or the CFO. So these are the fundamental principles about customers for life. So how do we organize ourselves? So this might look like 4 teams, but it's one team with 4 parts, not 4 teams. This is so, so important. The siloed experience that you get in this space, where you get people that do implementation, who are typically measured on bookings. We deliberately made our implementation team, for 4 years, were never measured on services revenue. We never measured it, we never tracked it. And bear in mind that inside Fairsail and Sage People, we had about 30 dashboards. There was not one for services revenue. As it happened, he took it about 10x in 4 years. So he did grow it, but we didn't measure it because we want implementation spend related to what the customer wants. So if a customer wants to self-implement or do a lot themselves, let's work with you. Let's not try and maximize the services dollar. I want to maximize the renewal rate. I want you to be a customer for life. What's interesting on there is that the assured piece, again, partner implementations, inside Fairsail, they got their own dedicated partner support team. We took 2 or 3 of our best implementers out of implementation, put them in a team to work entirely with our partners to make sure they were successful. So they don't drop the ball, because partners often do not have direct access to the product team. They know 75, 80% of what an internal consultant does. So what, you're going to give your customer who goes with a partner 75% of the value? No, get them there. And that enjoyable, an unusual word here in implementation, because actually if you're going to sell a people system, let's make it a bit of fun, and let's set the tone at the, bear in mind this is when you're selling this to a prospect, where we are telling them we are going to make this enjoyable. We're going to make this a process you come out the other end. Because guess what? If you look at a multi-year contract, most Fairsail Sage contracts are 3 years. If you go to the renewal and you ask them about how are they, and you had a bad implementation, they'll tell you. I don't know if anybody in there has experienced that. The implementation sets the tone. You get that wrong, you don't enjoy it, you'll know about it. Training. I firmly believe, and this is a non-trivial battle to win, I firmly believe that training should always be a cost center, not a revenue stream, not a P&L. Training is the currency of customer success. It is the thing that if you get it right, so many other things come good. The ROI is so blindingly obvious, but, and this is, it is a challenge in Sage, I'll be honest with you, because Sage makes a reasonable amount of money off training. So telling the person running training, hey, it's a cost center, never mind that revenue target, not quite so easy. But I would encourage you, if you're setting this up or you're a small business, treat training as, I think the previous team had education. It's about educating, it's about enabling, it's not about making money. Support. So how many people here have implemented a system, and when they're doing that bit where they go with the implementation team and they go, okay, we're going to sign it off and hand you over to support, and there's this, oh my God, I'm going to a dark place. Now, I say this to prospects, and every one of them smiles and nods. Support is not a dark place. Staff it with your best people. We were lucky in Fairsail that employee number 8, but about the 4th longest serving employee there, when I was there, was running support. So he knew everything about the product. Boy, does that make a difference. That makes a difference when you're really stuck. You go, they're the people that really help you. It's not a dark place. Customer success. Now, there's 2 things I want to draw out here. One is, I firmly believe that customer success managers have to be the best on the product. You cannot have customer success managers as the custodians of PowerPoint and adoption strategies only. That's interesting. It's helpful. They have to know the product. You sit in front of a customer, and a customer goes, yeah, it's all very well about adoption, but this is just not working. I'm fed up with it. It's been driving me mad. And I was basically the chief customer officer in the middle hanging together. I learned the product from the bottom up in its entirety. So I sat in front of a chief people officer and they said it's not working. I said, what's not working? And fixed it there and then. Now let's move on to the bigger issue. Because if you don't, and you say, let me go get my technical team, you've lost them. So the other thing is about the customer user group. We set up a customer user group. Bear in mind, we have 250 customers of Sage people. We had ran an event in Reading, and that previous slide, if I can make it work, that was about 100 people came for a customer user group out of a customer base globally of 250. And we do that 3 times a year. We don't charge for it. We give some free training while we're there. They talk to each other. They go visit each other. They give us good references. References are easy to come by. They love it, and they get value out of it. And I think that getting that customer engagement, we have a chatter group, external chatter group that has 850 people in it, where customers solve each other's problems. And I think that using that your customer base to help each other is vital. So, another really important thing. This is an interesting photo. This is a photo of taken in January of this year, before the acquisition. And this is Fairsail. On the top there is the founder, Colin Cooper. And then the first row is 2012 and before employees. The next row is 2013, and I'm the guy on the right with the brown trousers. And then 2014, 15, 16, and this was taken in January, and that's 2017. So we were growing, but what's interesting is I had a vision when I started, but all the people below me, they're all new. They came with their own baggage. So we made sure we did a couple of things. We hired the passion. I always remember hiring a support guy, and I won't say which company he's from, but he turned up and said, tell me about your most amazing customer experience. And he told me this really long story that wasn't very interesting, if I'm honest. But then he said, I got a smiley face on an email. And I did that classic, have you any other questions? And that was it. But it's about hiring the passion, and it is really hard. You've got to find people who it comes from here. And aligning the focus. Every one of those people, when they join, gets an induction, which is those 2 slides. They get sold the vision, sold the message. So they're on the same page. Encouraging the empathy. The way, going into the support desk and going, this customer's not in a good place, cut them some love. Give them some, it's okay to cut them a bit of slack. Show them the love, because actually we've got a problem over here. And coming back to that joined up team here, if someone in implementation's or we're doing a second phase and they've got initial implementation and they're kind of implementation and on support, making sure these teams are all connected and working on the same thing, because we're all measured on renewal rate. So when you can go, you know what, let's give them some reduced price training because we need to help them out of a hole, etc. And then the final thing is rewarding the right behaviors. And that comes back to that measure about don't put in metrics that push you against your culture. We talk about all this cultural situation and then put in a measure that goes against it, like a close rate or services revenue or training revenue. Focus on that, the measures that actually help you. So, Sage. So having gone from an organization in March, we were acquired by Sage, and my daughter said, Dad, what this new job, what is it? I said, well, I used to look after 250 customers. Now I'm in charge of 3 million. And she went, blimey, that sounds scary. And I thought, yep, spot on, very scary. So you might think, hang on, how does that work? Well, the good news is that that previous model will work for enterprise. It will not scale for Sage's entire customer base. So there's probably, if I drew a line down the room, probably half of you don't realize, but you're probably paid by Sage, via a Sage system. And there are a phenomenal, I think, is it 53% of the people in the UK are paid by a Sage system. So there's a lot of customers. So how do you scale? And the customers range from the one-man electrician who uses Sage accounts to run his business through to BMW, Renault, Uber. There's loads of them. So lots of range of customers. So how do you service them? And I think the key thing for me is about scale. And to do that, you need a machine. And a machine has to have 3 parts. You have to have, the computer has to tell you who's in trouble. You need a propensity to churn model. You need an early warning system. Salesforce had EWS, phenomenal. They basically locked a bunch of guys in a room, gave them a massive data warehouse, and they pushed out, and I think it was something in the region of 85% accuracy, could predict attrition. We need to build that. We've got bits of that in Sage. My job now is to get that operationalized and pushed out so we can truly identify those customers that need attention. Once you've got that, you need an automated customer journey. You need, when you sign up, you need that welcome pack. Now, we've got Sages in 23 countries, has lots of products, lots of legacy products. The challenge is, over time, this has been done inconsistently. Lots of good stuff, but not all the same. My job is to try and align that and get it similar, and to take the best practice both internally and externally. And then, where you can, get those targeted engagements. You can't call 3 million customers, but you can call the most needy. You can call the ones at the biggest point of risk. And then around that, you need all the one-to-many engagements, all the digital services, and you need to measure. The other one is the impact measurement. You have to, when you do programmatic stuff, you have to put in place the measurement of the value of that. So the final thing I want to end on is in an organization like Sage, a huge organization, 13,500 people across 24 countries, you've got to get the hearts and minds. And this is a quote from a guy who runs one of the Customers for Life teams within Sage, who basically said, Chris, I think I've got it. He said, my job used to be all about cross-selling and upselling an extra 7 million of revenue. Now, I'm having some fun. I'm about this keeping the 70 million. I'm in the keep 'em business, not the sell 'em business. And getting someone to go, this is a different game, is really, really fundamental. And that, for me, if there's one thing you should focus on, and I think it's been said numerous times, it's getting the people in the business to get that penny dropping moment and realize it's about a different way of thinking. And if you you've got to hold the faith. And you've got to hold the faith when your CEO is looking at you saying, I want more money. Yes, but I want successful customers, and they will give you more money. That is not easy to sell, but it's something that's really important. Thank you.